Hey guys, Last Breakin here, sliding into the DMs of your mind with another grand old tutorial. This one's going to be looking at how to handle Gavelkind when you have multiple heirs. Now, all unmodded CK2 players can agree, Gavelkind can vex even the mightiest of dynasties once their powerful rulers die and inheritance passes on to his 20 sons who are either inbred or slow or eunuchs, and it can really just cramp in your playstyle and cramp in your mood. Now, I will put a warning down and say that sadly, this is inevitable. You know, it's going to happen whether you like it or not. And you're going to have one too many sons, and suddenly your kingdom is fractured, either splitting into two different realms, or you and your main successor having one demence to his name, while all of his other sons create factions, or all of his brothers create factions, and then try to overthrow you. So I'll try to give you just some tips on how to help either A, control the bloodline, or B, prune that family tree into the beautiful apple tree that it needs to be. Now, the first hint I'm going to give is just making sure that you can prevent your kingdom fracturing upon the death of your current ruler. Now, while playing, if you have the ability to make a kingdom or a duchy, you need to take that immediately. To give an example, say you started out on a duke level and you conquer enough land to make sure that there is another duchy that you could create a title for, and you have two sons in tow. Now, if you die, your main heir will get the primary duchy that you started the game with, but your second son will create a independent duchy level kingdom upon your death. So what you have to do as a ruler is make sure you conquer enough land to form a true kingdom, so that way both of the duchies fall under the kingdom title, if that makes sense. Doing this is vital in terms of making sure that your kingdoms don't immediately fracture upon the death of your ruler. This can be quite tricky after you've acquired a kingdom title and you're moving on to your empire title. Then you have to really be careful about your kingdom's fracturing, because then you have just giant armies potentially about ready to slap each other. Alright, now that we have kingdom fracturing out of the way, let's talk a little bit about how to get rid of that second, third, fourth, or if he's really that bad, your first meddling son. Now, the first way, and probably the most obvious way, is effective medieval birth control. Your best offense is a good defense. Now, I'm not talking about sacrificing your pregnant wife to your pagan god. At least not in this tip. But what I mean here is effectively utilizing lovers and concubines to make sure you're not biting off more than you can chew. Now, considering having a wife does have its dements and alliance benefits, I have plenty of times before married a woman who is usually way out of her childbearing years, usually about 40, 45 to make it safe, just so I can get the benefits out of this, and then I can turn to cultivating a harem of women or men, works for either sex, but it's just easier for male rulers, to have kids and to pick and choose your potential heirs at your whim. Now, for lovers, it's quite obvious. When a bastard is born, you immediately have the option to call him your own blood, immediately putting him in your line of succession, or just at least acknowledging them, or completely not. It's really up to you and what you need to get done politically. Now, this is by far your most effective way to make sure that your Gavelkind Sucession doesn't get all out of whack, because not only can you choose certain things for your lover, but then you also can choose when and where a potential son can pick up your succession. So, if you can make this happen, this is definitely the best way to do it. Now, the other way, which is slightly more risky, is picking up concubines if you're a pagan ruler. This option allows you to pick up women even easier, as you can immediately set them all aside once a male heir is born, and you don't have to seduce them. You just choose them, and they're immediately part of your family. Now, the only thing, though, is if you have multiple ones, then you run the option of having them both get pregnant in similar times, and potentially producing two male heirs. So, you need to use this option wisely. Now, the second, and definitely more nefarious way of doing this, is to find your local group of demon worshippers. Just point to yourself to any nearby phone book directory, and I'm sure one will pop right up. This is probably the most direct way of taking care of business, and gives you the opportunity to pick and choose which of your kids you want to be your heir. The reason being is that the top rank of the devil worshippers, or the fourth rank, has the ability to absorb life force of one of their own little kids without really causing too much alarm. I say too much quote in quotes. The negative about this route is having to do the journey to get there, and typically dark magic can really take a toll on your rulers' bodies in sometimes some very unforeseen ways. And not to mention, there's always the hazards of what happens if you get found out. And so I would definitely use this with a bit of caution. There's a lot of unforeseen consequences becoming a demon worshiper, so in real life and also in this game. So tread with this one lightly. Now the third way I'll propose, and this is really if you're in dire straits, I'm talking like you know your ruler's on his deathbed, and once he or she croaks, the kingdom will split into 4 pieces, or your next heir will be Gavelkind into one county, where everyone else starts plotting or factioning against you. And that is to employ the old prison and execution approach. This is far and away the most dangerous one. Not only does it wreak havoc on your courts and vassals' opinion of you, but it gives you immediate debuffs like Kinslayer and all of that fun stuff. I really don't recommend this one unless your back is up against a wall, because it's going to be messy, I promise you. Now, these are not the only ways to do it. This is just to rattle off a few more. You can have your ruler join a monastic order and take a vow of celibacy is a way, or just trying to figure out a way to take a vow of celibacy. There's a ton of different ways to trigger that event. You can kill your wife after your firstborn is another way to do it. Knowingly putting your second or third sons in harm's way by making them be commanders is another one. The list really goes on. This is just meant to help you get a little bit creative in how to, like I said at the beginning, really make sure that family tree stays pruned down to what you think you can manage. Now, that's all I got for right now, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. As always, this is Last Brohican, and take it easy, y'all.